Everybody, this is Dr. Flight. Hope you're doing great today, and welcome to this video. This is a video a lecture that focuses on a topic that is monumentally important in the area of marketing, and it's really a conversation we had when we start talking about organizational planning. And maybe a little bit of strategic planning, but it's a concept called market orientation. And so we're going to jump into this and talk a little bit about what it means to have a market orientation, and kind of what that is. And so, as I kind of mentioned, this organizational planning kind of phase of the planning process takes a very broad look at the organization and charts a course for where it's going to go in the future. And when we start talking about how organizations form decisions, a lot of times those decision-making patterns are based on what they find important, in terms of doing business, and where they feel their greatest threats are, and they address those oftentimes first. And oftentimes managers will view decision making through a specific lens. So we're going to talk about customer orientation and the idea of just market orientation in general and what that means from a decision making standpoint. And so mission statements then are ones that organize the organization, kind of focus the organization on how it's going to do business or how it's going to accomplish its goals and such. And notably, a lot of mission statements will have elements of the market, customers, or clients whom they serve. And so if you think about what leads the organization, like what mantra or what purpose does the organization have? If they say our goal here is to serve the customer, then that would be a customer-centric type of a mission. If their goal is to be number one market share, be number one in terms of sales in the industry, then that would be more competitive oriented or a competition oriented focus. And that could happen as well. You may have a mission that states that you want to build the best quality products available. And that's a very operations-based orientation. And all of those work to various degrees, depending on your business and depending on how the organization, where its key strengths are, oftentimes like how it's designed in terms of being distinctive and its core resources. So needless to say, the emphasis of being customer-centric has absolutely grown over time and in the future. Southwest Airlines mission statement is a little longer. They're dedicated to the highest quality customer service delivered with a sense of warmth, friendliness, individual pride, and company spirit. So that's kind of their mission, with a pivotal focus on the customer and everything that would go with it. Another company that tends to be customer-centric is Home Depot. And they have within their organization sort of this planning process, I guess, or this way of looking at doing business that is called an inverted triangle or pyramid, where customers kind of take the forefront of decision making, and kind of the customer experience is a really important concept, which they take seriously, followed by their employees, frontline associates, field support, corporate support, and then finally upper level management has the least important role to play in driving how they're going to plan, how they're going to view themselves strategically, and so forth. Okay, so This all opens up to say that there are different orientations or points of perspective that companies use, but companies will have a dominant orientation or point of perspective typically that will drive their purpose and their mission and so forth. So I want to talk a little bit about customer focused or customer oriented kind of organizations, I guess, and 5 characteristics. And these are going to be some are straightforward. They're all from research. They're all from literature in marketing and theory, but kind of straightforward. So market driven and being customer focused. And when we say market driven, what we mean is the marketplace. At the marketplace, you have customers and you have competitors who come together to make an exchange. And so when we talk about markets, we're talking about groups of consumers who have similar needs and wants. And so being focused on those markets, on those consumers, and having customer focus is certainly important. Needless to say, though, within a marketplace, we do have competition, and understanding the competitors' value propositions are very important because, again, the customer sees our product, but they also see our competitors' products too. So to be naive and ignore the competition and kind of what they're doing would only serve to kind of put blinders on and not really help you as you're moving forward. Interfunctional coordination is kind of a big deal internally within an organization. And so again, we see that companies that share information across functional units are far more efficient than those that don't. So being able to kind of think functionally together will enhance the opportunity to serve customers. It'll also enhance other aspects too, but customer-focused companies rarely exist if they don't work together across functions or silos within the organization itself. Number 4 here, data. Being able to access data, acquire data, analyze data, and make decisions based on it. Data is a big deal to be able to, again, make big decisions using quantitative analysis is something that customer-focused organizations do and do quite a bit of. And then finally, we need to be in tune with or understand that we do things well. We do something well. There's something distinctive about us. And we need to go through and identify what those distinctions are that set us apart from our competition and make a unique place for us in the marketplace. It's actually kind of the theory is that what makes us unique and special is what and why the customer is inclined to buy our product. And it's what we can leverage in the marketplace as, the distinctive capability or distinctive, feature, I guess, that customers should want to gravitate towards. Okay, so with all this said, we talk about going the wrong direction. We're talking about a theory then in marketing called market orientation theory. Sometimes I just say MO instead of writing it all out. So if you see MO, then it's going to have that. And again, this is a theory in marketing that's been around since the 90s. So it's been around for quite a long time and used over the years for explaining in part, along with other theory, how firms can view a marketplace to gain a competitive advantage. And there are 3 distinct components of market orientation, and all 3 are important. And so it's like a focus then on customers, a focus on competition, and then also this sharing of information across functions within the organization. Typically, organizations will lean towards or favor an orientation. So it may not be that you're equally balanced between a customer orientation and a competitive orientation, But moreover, it's typical that that companies will have like a better focus on one over the other. But at the end of the day, interfunctional coordination helps. It's the glue that keeps everything together in a lot of ways. That's kind of the way I think about it. Oftentimes. So when we talk about customer orientation, so think about three legs of a stool. This is one of the three legs. Customer orientation. Firms are heavily obviously influenced by the customer, and it's manifested in the way they make decisions. So they'll follow key metrics that are oftentimes customer generated. So if you're a manager in a firm like this, you're going to be constantly looking at how you interact with the customer's awareness levels, customer satisfaction level, how much the customer pays, the price, things like that, loyalty, something called a share of wallet, and ultimately customer lifetime value. These are all metrics and things we measure. Share of wallet is a special special deviation of market share. It's market share within a very specific product category, and so with a fixed income or a fixed budget. So just think of it as market share, if you will. And if somebody has a choice between choosing you and choosing a competitor, how many of their dollars go to you versus them? It's basically the idea. But at the end of the day, key metrics are going to drive a lot of the decisions that we make, and these specifically are the measures and metrics that we would think are very customer focused. There are actually a set of questions or a survey that you can implement, you can launch, or you can measure the degree to which your organization is customer oriented. And we're going to ask questions. These are questions we actually ask companies to measure this. One of the questions would be, we have routine or regular measures of customer service. And basically the idea is, if you say, well, no, we don't have any of that, then you're going to score low. But if you say, yeah, we do that all the time, we have a lot of that, I completely agree, then you're going to score high on this idea of customer orientation. Another question, we change our products or services or prices based on what our customers want. Third, we have a good sense of what our customers value in our products and services. So again, remember, these are all customer-focused questions. If you score high on all of these, then it would suggest that you put a lot of emphasis in how you treat your customers. We're more customer-focused than our competitors. And finally, we believe our business exists primarily to serve customers. So again, these like 5 or 6 questions, you could internally within your organization ask managers, ask employees to answer these. And if they scored high on this, then that would reflect a very high customer orientation. Okay, so that's, remember, 1/3 of market orientation. So, this customer service, we've talked about this a little before in the past, where if there's a focus on the customer, then there'll be strategic and managerial actions that are associated with pushing those metrics. And so, you can't just look at the metrics and not have leadership behind it. It has to be kind of like a holistic organizational ethos. And that's what orientations are, quite frankly. The key here is that and evidence would suggest that a lot of times when companies are customer focused, when they have a customer orientation, it tends to translate into stronger economic results. Earlier we saw that how Home Depot kind of has this customer first inverted pyramid. This kind of the picture of that. Now it happens that Lowe's is Home Depot's chief competitor, and it also happens that Home Depot routinely outperforms Lowe's on a store-to-store basis from a profit margin perspective and from a store-by-store sales performance perspective as well. Home Depot is routinely priced less than Lowe's, and they oftentimes have fewer products or SKUs. But they're more efficient and they bring in more money per store, and they're far more profitable than Lowe's are at the store level. Now, is it all because they have more of a customer focus? Probably not, but having a customer focus certainly helps. All right, so moving forward, the second leg of that three-legged stool, we had customer orientation. What about competitive orientation? So now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to look at metrics that are more competitively focused, like on our competitors. And so key metrics will include things like our profitability. We'd also consider what our competitors' profitability is like, what their costs are versus revenues that they're bringing in. So profit margin and things like that. Our sales, we can compare our sales to their sales, market shares. Market share, while it involves the customer heavily, it's a comparison between your firm and your competitors. Sales margin, I mentioned. Average product costs, I mentioned the idea of costs. Employee satisfaction, and also a bunch of quality measures. If you generally have a better quality product, oftentimes customers will reward you in the marketplace for that better quality. Again, as we kind of look at defining this if we're going to ask our employees or ask folks within an organization, hey, do you have a competitive orientation? We're going to answer it by asking these types of questions. Here's one. We focus on offering better products and services than our competitors. So you've got this comparison that's going on here. And if you feel like the focus is us versus them, and that's what drives our decision making, then you have a competitive orientation. We respond rapidly to our competitors' actions. Our top managers spend significant time discussing our competitors. New and existing competitors are seen as a threat to our firm. And finally, we respond to competitors' actions by changing our prices and products in order to be more competitive. Clearly, you can see that these questions really measure and touch on this notion of where our focus is. And these are distinctly different than having the focus placed on the customer. Our focus is now drawn towards the competitors in order for us to make our business decisions that we're going to make. Okay, so again, firms will favor a customer perspective or a competitive perspective. While there are elements of both that they'll oftentimes favor one versus the other. And in practice, theoretically and also just pragmatically in research, there's not one better than the other. Firms just vacillate between the two, and they tend to adopt one or the other. Okay, the third leg, and we're going to wrap this up by talking about on the next couple images here, talking about interfunctional coordination. This is the third leg that makes up the stool or the paradigm of market orientation. Okay, so when we talk about interfunctional coordination, again, this is the sharing of information across functions to work together. So market and industry data is gathered in a timely manner. So data is used in this sense, and if you can think about different functions in the company having different databases, having those databases merged together seamlessly would be a good example of interfunctional coordination in this way. Information is exchanged quickly across functions. All functions working together towards the same strategic goal. So we have a mission, we have a direction we want to go in. Well, is everybody working towards the same strategic goals, or are functions infighting? Is there internal turmoil or conflict that's drawing attention away from the goals of the organization? That would be problematic. Okay, marketing research and internal information systems drive oftentimes our focus. A good example of this might be customer relationship marketing, CRM. CRM is a very, very data-driven process. We collect data through operations, we collect data through exchanges, through sales, through all kinds of different things that we do, and that data has to be organized. Now, in this case, we organize it and we use it in order to form stronger relationships with customers, but it takes an entire organization oftentimes to be a really, really effective customer relationship marketing, CRM or management firm. So that's kind of an example of how systems can drive the process, but they have to be shared across units. All right, and again, we'll wrap this up kind of with the questions that we would ask. And these questions, again, mirror what makes an interfunctional firm work. So information shared among different functions and departments. So if you can answer highly on this, like, yeah, absolutely, then that's a good thing. When one department or function has news, it is routinely spread company-wide. So is information or news shared across the company or firm? Our firm's functions and departments work better together or work well together more often than they do apart. And then finally, our firm's functions and departments coordinate and plan activities together. And I don't mean necessarily social activities. I mean, like, we're going to do a product launch and the product has to be produced, so operations has to be involved, and we have to run advertising, and then we also need to have our channels of distribution up and running, and there's all these moving parts, and we have to have the product package. That means legal has to get involved. When we do this product launch, everybody in the firm has a role to play, and we have to coordinate those roles in order for it to be a successful launch. And so that's an example of just kind of the interfunctional coordination that is needed. Again, this is one where it's going to support, and I like to call it the glue that keeps the company together, because if you're going to have focus on customer, or if you're going to have focus on the competitors, you're going to have to share information in all cases across functions within the organization. Okay, so this has been a discussion then on market orientation. Again, this is one of the, I'm going to call one of the seminal theories in marketing. It's one that's been around for years, a long time, but it's one that stood the test of time in terms of describing kind of the internally within the organization, how a focus of the firm, can lead the company towards marketplace performance, how metrics drive the process, and how we can actually measure this in the real world, and how we do measure it in the real world in terms of company focus. So, all right, if you have any questions, let me know, and otherwise, take care.